We are pleased to share the results of our survey of successful clubs in the United States and Canada. As you will see, these clubs have some powerful lessons about how Rotary leaders can focus and help Rotary grow. Now, why grow membership? Well, number one, we are a membership organization. Our most important asset are our members. And it turns out, if you get membership right, the rest tends to fall into place. With more members, we have more ideas. We have more resources in terms of what we can do, and we can make a greater impact. Now, what we want to talk to you about today is creating a culture of consistent, moderate membership growth. Now, one of the things you're going to hear as we go through this is that these clubs that grew set goals. So we want to encourage clubs to set membership goals, but set realistic membership goals. And moderate growth means a growth of maybe 5 to 10% per year. So think about that. So for example, if you've got a 50-member club, 10% is 5 net members. So going from 50 to 55 members. Now, a little bit more about the survey. Now, the survey was led by the Zone 28 and 32 analytics team, and it was designed to follow up on a survey we did last year on clubs that grew significantly during the pandemic. Now, in the study, we focused on clubs that had demonstrated successful long-term growth. In fact, this is right through the pandemic. So these clubs didn't use the pandemic as an excuse. They used it as an opportunity for growth. Now, with the support and collaboration of all the Rotary coordinators across the United States and Canada, we were able to extend the survey to encompass this entire region. And the survey confirmed and enriched the first survey that we did last year and left us confidence in the validity of the key drivers of club growth. So now let me talk to you a little bit about the survey. Now, again, the criteria that we used was 10 plus net members over a 5-year period. Now, what that sounds like is just 2 net members per year. So that's not a huge growth. But what we were looking for was consistent growth. And they had to have grown in at least 3 of the past 5 years. And the other criteria was we did not survey new clubs in this. So these clubs needed to be at least 5+ years old and needed to be around before 2017. Now, we heard back from 85 clubs, and there were 85 clubs or past presidents from those clubs that responded to the survey. So what we're going to share with you now is information about 85 clubs. And the information we're going to show, it was pretty much overwhelming in terms of the response rate on these different characteristics. In other words, there were 70, 80, 90% responses of these clubs saying that they were following these practices. Now, another question we often get is what's the range of the club sizes? Well, it turns out that the club sizes ranged from 7 to 120 in 2017. So there were small clubs in there, there were medium-sized clubs, and then there were larger clubs. So the results didn't seem to be dependent on the club size. So the attributes we're going to share are pretty much across the board. And as my colleague Doug Logan likes to say, it wasn't about the size of the club. It was more about the leadership club. So now a little bit about attrition and attraction. Now, the average attrition of North American clubs is about 15%. But now the clubs that responded to the survey, well, their average attrition was around 12%. So it wasn't that much different from the average attrition of the North American clubs. It was a little bit better, but it wasn't hugely better. Where the difference lied was in the attraction. So the average attraction in these clubs was about 23%. And you can see the North American average was only 12%. So these clubs were attractive to who they were trying to attract. So now let's talk about those 5 attributes. The 5 attributes were, number 1, effective governance. Also, we like to call it intentional leadership. Active, intentional member engagement, dynamic, meaningful service, strong public image, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now let's examine each of these 5 attributes in a little bit more detail. First, effective governance. These clubs had a planning process for growth. It didn't happen by accident. In fact, 80 to 85% of these clubs told us that, yes, we had a strategic planning process, and we updated it at least annually, and many of them more frequently. The other thing they talked about was goal setting. Over 85% of these clubs told us that they set goals for membership growth. Now, I have interviewed a number of past presidents in the past about clubs that have grown, and every once in a while I will hear, well, Herb, we don't really know why we grew, we just did. Well, for every one time I've heard that story, 10 times we hear, yes, we planned for this growth. So then the second one is leadership continuity. These clubs, 85% of them told us that they had a president-elect in place more than 1 year in advance, and 50% of them told us they had a president nominee in place 2 years in advance. And of course, if you're going to grow, you need to have a club membership chair and a club membership committee. And over 90% of these clubs told us that they had that in place. And then membership was a top priority for everyone in the club. We heard that over and over and over again. So in other words, membership growth was top of mind. And it was everyone's responsibility in the club. One of the questions we asked on the survey was, who sponsored your new members? Was it 1 or 2 super recruiters in your club, or was it by and large the membership of the club? And the answer came back overwhelmingly. It was by and large all of the membership in the club. And another thing we heard very frequently was that it was a weekly agenda item. If membership's a top priority, it needs to be front and center every single week. Now, in addition to the survey where we had 85 responses, we also did a series of interviews. And 12 of these 85 past club presidents self-nominated to be interviewed to provide us a little bit more details about their club. So you're going to hear not only from me, but you're going to hear from them in this presentation. And a very special thanks to Liz Smith-Yates for helping us put together these 6 excellent videos that you're going to see. So let's get started. Let's hear from some of these past club presidents.
When I joined the club, the president at that time, the immediate past president, the president-elect, and the president, I guess, nominee, sat down and they mapped out a 5-year growth plan for the club.
And so we try to look several years in advance, and when we get those people lined up, we want them to know that you're not in that alone, and that the past president, the current president, next year president, we're all in there together to help you.
What the club did is that it looked at itself as like a quasi-chamber of commerce.
We're very intentional about expanding our membership, but the reason that we feel it's important is because we're able to do more in the community. That's really the driver. We ask all of our members to participate in identifying new members. We believe that there are men and women in our community that have what we call a Rotarian's heart.
And we decided to add things that would be a business orientation. So when members join, not only are they doing service to the community, but they are also growing their business.
Just look for gaps that we may have in our group. Like, we'll have somebody like, well, does anybody know anybody who works in the middle school, or does anyone know anybody?
When we were a younger club a few years ago, we had no attorneys, and we said, who knows an attorney? And within a year, we had 3 very good attorneys that joined the club. We believe that there's a vigor attached to having people from all the different professions that we can identify involved in our club.
This year was our centennial year, so we tied many of our service projects and our membership goal to the number 100. Setting the goal was the big thing, and getting buy-in for everybody.
Our club does set goals. We do talk about membership. It's always in our Rotary agenda for each week, because we talk about it so much that we seem to attract other people that want to know more about what is Rotary all about, or what is this specific club about.
So we talk about membership all the time. We target professions. We ask all of our club members to help introduce someone that they know that might be an asset to our organization.
It's always part of our conversations. Even when we have a social, we'll always say this is a great opportunity to ask and bring a prospective member to our Rotary event.
And everything that we do, whether it's a meeting, a weekly meeting, a service project, or a social event, is a recruiting event.
We're always talking about membership.
Okay, we also get asked the question very frequently, well, this is all very interesting. There are 5 attributes, but we're a small club. We've only got 15 members or 10 members. We can't focus on all these areas. What are we to do to grow our club? Well, the one-word answer to that is exactly that word, focus, and identifying where the biggest opportunities are. So what we're going to do today is share with you 2 examples of that, and they're very different. The first one comes from King, North Carolina. And this club grew from about 18 members to roughly double that size, 37, 38 members over the 5-year period. And the president of the club, or the past president of the club, Donna Boyles, is going to tell you a little bit about one of the things that they did when she was club president. In fact, what she did was she put everyone in the club on the membership committee. And she did it in a very creative way. So let's hear from Donna.
And I decided as the president, we would have the entire club would be a membership committee, and I would divide it up into subcommittees. Focusing on retention, I had 2 committees. One was called Reach Out and Touch, and they kind of focused on the well-being of members, and they came up with a buddy system, so paired everybody up. And so if your buddy was not there, you contact them and have lunch every once in a while, or whatever you wanted to do. And the other committee in retention was Surprise and Delight, and we had lots of games or fun activities. And the very favorite one, I think, of everybody's, we did show and tell. And a member would come and they would bring something, and just like kindergarten, but they would show something that meant a lot to them and tell about it. And we learned so much about the members that we didn't know. And so those two focused on retention. And then I had Rotary Recruiter and highlighters so that they would continue to look at ways to highlight our club. And the fifth one was called Explorers, and they were to explore the different types. And they focused in mostly on doing a satellite club because of those young professionals who said they wanted to be part of Rotary. They meet in the late afternoons after work, and I think that's been a success.
So after Donna told us this story, I had to ask a follow-up question. What about other committees in your club, like fundraising and service? And her answer was, well, every other month, we focused almost exclusively on membership. And on those alternate months, we would have these other committees meet as well. But again, when you're a small club, what's the most important opportunity? Well, I would argue it's to grow your membership so that you have the critical mass in your club so that you can fill your committees and you don't have to keep repeating presidents and things like that. Now, the second attribute is active, intentional engagement. Now, the number one reason why these clubs told us, or at least in their opinion, why they were growing, was great meetings and strong friendships. Well, I don't know about you, but one of the things that keeps me in Rotary, or the number one thing that keeps me in Rotary, are the strong friendships that I have with like-minded people throughout my club, my district, and around the world. Other attributes were consistent and flexible meetings, engaging new members. Over 70% of these clubs told us they had a new member engagement process in place, and that might include a new member orientation, it might include a mentorship program, but the key thing is identifying where are the interests of these new members and helping to get them involved in areas where they are interested. And then saying thank you. As leaders, and especially as leaders of volunteer organizations, we can't say thank you enough. And if our thank yous to our members are sincere, very good things tend to happen. Now, in terms of consistent and flexible meetings, well, 3/4 of these clubs told us they met weekly in person. Well, the other quarter also met regularly, but they might have met virtually and they might have met bi-weekly. 2/3 of them, or roughly 2/3, told us that they used hybrid or virtual technology. They didn't abandon this after the pandemic. They're using it today, and they're taking advantage of it. And then nearly 30% of these clubs told us they created a satellite club as an alternate Rotary experience. Now, that's way higher than the average in the United States and Canada, where it's more like 5 to 7. But you can see they took advantage of this idea of maybe there's another experience that people might be interested in to help us grow and have more impact in our communities. So now let's hear some more from these past club presidents.
Our club meets on Tuesday mornings at 7:30. Our motto is getting up early to get more done.
Our meetings are open to anybody who wants to come, and we invite people to our meetings that could potentially become a member that we're interested in having as a guest to come to our meetings. We also have introduced this year, out of our 4 meetings a month, one of those meetings is a fun meeting.
And those social events are the type of thing where we would invite people to join us.
And Fun Night is a lot of fun. We play games. I think we're going to have a cooking demonstration at one of them that's coming up.
You can see smiling faces. We've made sure that we have the video of even O Canada was made into something with photos of us.
We did Rotary trivia, which was really kind of eye-opening to see who knew what about the organization we belong to.
Our membership ranges in age from the 20s to our oldest member is 84. We have quite a few in their 30s and 40s, so it's a younger club.
So I think it's more being a vibrant club and fun.
We also have been very flexible in the last few years with Zoom. And it was a tough switch, and we had some old dogs that fought it the whole way, but they were trainable, and now they're loving it because now our snowbirds can still come to our weekly meetings from Georgia and Florida and Texas.
To attract new members, we've got to start adjusting to what everybody's time is. We're still doing hybrid because we can still have speakers from all over that can't always join the meetings.
We know there are a number of people who would like to be part of our club but cannot come at 7:30 in the morning because of work schedules. So we're trying to meet at least once a month at a bar or a restaurant and tell people what the projects are coming up and say, even if you can't come to the regular meetings, if you'd like to participate in tutoring kids or planting a tree or many of the different things we do, you can participate. And then often when people do that, then they get excited and end up joining our club.
I was able to work with the Innovative Club Advocate at the district level and get some guidance on how to start an after-hours group, which some people call satellite clubs.
We chartered a satellite club last year with 9 members. So that added, so that brought us up to 47 plus 1 honorary.
So 6 months before I took over, the after-hours group was hitting its stride, and for that full year I had them, we almost doubled our number of service projects.
When the members are all happy and everybody is participating, that's how you're going to attract other new members, because you've got a happy family here.
Okay, the third attribute is dynamic, meaningful service. These clubs had signature projects and signature fundraisers. Over 85% of the clubs told us they had a signature project, and nearly 85 told us they had a signature fundraiser, meaning more than 50% of the members were involved in this project or fundraiser. They included community members in their projects and their fundraisers, and they had ongoing active service. These clubs didn't have 1 or 2 service projects. Typically, they had many service projects. And as you'll hear in the video, some of them had, more than 1 project a month. Some of them even told us they had 1 project a week. So everybody wasn't involved in every project, but the club as a whole was involved on a very regular basis in service projects. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about including community members. There was a club president from Plano, Texas, who gave me the quote, "This is the secret sauce. This is how we grow our club." In fact, 87% of the clubs that responded told us that they invite community members to their projects and fundraisers. What a great idea. Maybe the first impression of your club could be working with you at a service project as opposed to at a club meeting. And 2/3 of the clubs told us that they held 1 or more events specifically to attract new members. Now, this could be a Rotary information night. It could be a networking mixer. There were a whole variety of different ways that clubs told us that they held events. But again, the point was they were focused at least once or twice a year on attracting new members on a very specific event. So again, let's hear from some of these past presidents.
People participate in what they're able to and what they're interested in.
We do about 30 different projects a year, and so there is, I think some clubs talk a lot but don't do as many projects, and because we do quite a few projects, I think people feel engaged and they're accomplishing something.
Oftentimes, the members will bring some heavy laborers with them to do this stuff, to help us dig holes and clean up. And every once in a while, they decide that we look like a fun group and they do join us.
Town council wanted to do a Sweep the Acres service project. They wanted to clean up their city. Well, we heard about it and we arrived as Rotarians in force.
We found that the service projects was a catalyst or a reason some of our younger professionals joined, just to be involved in civic activities.
That was the place where we talked to so many community members who were excited about cleaning up their town, and several of them, well, especially one I inducted on my last day as president.
The Legacy Club did a service project a month, and so did the After Hours group. And we found that a lot of young professionals were drawn to that, seeing the club out, not only with the larger group, but with the smaller After Hours group.
One of the things we do is let them know what we do. We have a road project where we clean up the road, part of the road between here and Franklin.
We invite the members to bring their children, their spouses.
We have a wood chopping project where we'll locate wood, we'll chop up the wood and give it to the emergency council for people who heat their homes with wood that don't have enough money to buy wood, so they have it available there.
We are able to help our members and members of the community do the things that are important.
And the expectation is every member must or should participate at least on one committee within the organization and be ready to volunteer for one or more of the activities that we're engaged in on behalf of service.
The fourth attribute is strong public image. These clubs were very active in their use of media tools, and they used them as a focus on member attraction. So here's where I want to tell you another story about a small club. Now, this is a club that is in the district that I'm a member of. Now, it's the Percy Rotary Club. Now, 4 years ago, this club had 12 members. And I remember visiting this club as governor, and really it was hard to understand why they only had 12 members. They were extremely active in their community, and they were a lot of fun to be with. But the problem was nobody knew about what they were doing. And as I talked to the club president about this a few years later, after their growth occurred, he said, well, one of the key change points for us was, well, it turned out there was a Facebook group in our community that posted community service events and invited others to join them. So they started posting their many community service projects on that Facebook group, and people started to show up, and people found out what a fun group it was to be with, and they started to join. And I remember one of the comments from that past president. He said to me, he says, you know, when we started out, we really didn't have a whole lot of skill set with respect to social media, but we do now, because those people joined the club. And that club now has grown from 12, and at last count, I saw that they were up to 29 members. So this is a great example of understanding where your asset is, and their asset here was all the service that they were doing in their community, and then understanding where their opportunity was Well, their opportunity was to get the word out more so that others knew about what they were doing. And then they were able to grow. Now, these clubs are active in their use of media tools. Virtually every club told us they used Facebook, and about 1 out of 5 told us that they use Instagram. 3/4 of the clubs told us that they use their club website as a tool to help promote their club. And a little over half told us they used local print news outlets. Now, anecdotally, what we saw with this was the local print news outlets tended to be higher percentage in the rural communities, but virtually everyone was using social media. So again, let's hear from these past club presidents.
We have a social media public image share.
It's really important in today's world to use social media to get recognition for a club.
And she'll post, 5 or 8 or maybe 10 on our Facebook page each week. And that automatically populates our Instagram page, and it automatically populates our website.
We're active on Instagram, active on Facebook, active on sending on our website. We try to keep that up to date.
The administration and the town council of Forest Acres really didn't know that we existed. They knew that we met once a week at a local church, but they really didn't know a lot about the Rotary Club of Forest Acres.
We're fortunate that one member of our club is a local reporter, so we get a lot of good coverage about our activities.
We have a public image committee. They have to have, on an average, at least one article in one of the 3 publications that we have in town a week.
And our Rotarians started to volunteer to be on, for an example, planting flowers at the center of town. And so the town administration became more familiar with what we wanted to do.
That has helped us with membership, because the more our name gets out there, the more folks recognize who we are.
The media contact, she became one of our members. And that was one way that we became connected with the town administration.
In a smaller town, people look at the printed material that comes out. That's to our advantage that they do. It's a small community, so there's always options and opportunities for people to want to know what's happening.
One of the best things that a club could do is just go to their laptop and type in Rotary Clubs near me. And if their club name doesn't pop up, then they've got some work to do.
And the 5th attribute that we've seen in growing clubs is diversity, equity, and inclusion. These clubs had an intentional focus on diversity. They worked to ensure that their club reflects the community and had a welcoming environment in their club. So this meant different things to different clubs. For example, we talked to a number of rural clubs as well as clubs in New York City, and the definition of what they needed to do for diversity would vary quite a bit. The one story I will tell you very quickly was a story I heard from a club from Buffalo, New York. And this past president told us that during that year when she was president, they started a satellite club in one of the lowest income areas of Buffalo, New York. And by starting that club, the types of projects that they started to work on changed. And her words were, they were making so much more impact in their community because of this new group of people with this different set of perspectives that was helping them grow. So with that, 5 attributes of growing clubs are effective governance, active, intentional member engagement, dynamic, meaningful service, strong public image, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in closing, I want to show one more video. One of the questions that we asked all of our interviewees was, what does club leadership mean to you? And here are some of their responses.
What Rotary leadership and leadership in general means to me would be taking the vision, identifying the vision, and then getting with the rest of the team to make sure that those visions are aligned.
For me, it is servant leadership. It is more of me helping other leaders to take a step to serve in the community through Rotary.
As president, you are supporting your leads. You are not doing all the work. You're certainly participating, but the lead is the responsible person.
Not taking my vision and insisting that others follow it, but working to build the team's vision together.
You wear a lot of hats. You take care of a lot of people, and it's a very just a rewarding when you look back on your year or look back on the last 6 months as to what your club has accomplished.
The support is so important, but as president, what you're trying to do is to make it easy for your leads of those service projects to really be successful.
I just feel that it's important that that our club leadership realizes that they represent everybody in the club.
It makes you feel good when you can really congratulate someone both personally and in front of the club at a meeting about a fantastic job they did on an event that we had.
I didn't know that Rotary would have a big impact on me as a leader. Rotary leadership has grown me into a person that I won't stop being a Rotarian.
So thank you for your attention, and let's grow Rotary.